Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Critical Issues Forum 2018 Spring Student Teacher Conference. My name is Juliana Heritage.
My name is Sterling Halberstadt.
And we are students at Pacific Grove and your MCs for this conference. So we would like to start the conference by introducing every single school that is here today. Choate Rosemary Hall, Wallingford, Connecticut. Dr. Olga Mohan High School, Los Angeles, California. Harker School, San Jose, California. International Polytechnic High School, iPoly, Pomona, California. Pacific Grove High School, Pacific Grove, California. Punahou School, Honolulu, Hawaii. Rock University High School, Janesville, Wisconsin. And now from Japan. Hiroshima Jogakuin High School, Hiroshima. Kasui High School, Nagasaki. Kaisei High School, Tokyo. Kansai Soka Senior High School, Osaka. Nagasaki Higashi High School, Nagasaki. Soka Senior High School, Tokyo. Hiroshima University High School, Hiroshima. And now from Russia. School number 41, Novorossiysk. School number 164, Zelenogorsk. Lyceum Lesnoy. Thank you. And local high school students have been invited to attend this conference. Are there any in the audience at this time? What's your name?
Daniel.
What high school are you from?
Alisal High School in Saline.
Thank you for coming. Yeah.
To start off, we'd like to have an opening statement by Misako Toki, Project Manager of the Critical Issues Forum and James Martin Center for Nonproliferation Studies.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2018 Critical Issues Forum Spring Conference. My name is Misako Toki, and I'm the project manager of the Critical Issues Forum at the James Martin Center for Nonproliferation Studies. First of all, let me express my sincere appreciation to everyone who has supported the Critical Issues Forum throughout the year as it has culminated to this student-teacher conference. I would also like to acknowledge that this year's project was made possible by generous funding from the United States and Japan Foundation, Tom and Sarah Pattison Fund, and the Tokyo Club in Japan. This year marks the 21st year of the Critical Issues Forum project. Since its inception, CIF has reached out to thousands of high school students in the United States, Russia, and Japan. Students have benefited directly by participating in the program and indirectly by observing their peers' research and presentation on disarmament and nonproliferation issues. I am really grateful to everyone who has supported the CIF program in a variety of capacities. This conference would not be possible without assistance from many different people. We are holding this conference for the future leaders at the very monumental time of nuclear disarmament and nonproliferation development. This year's topic is Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, Achievements, Aspirations, and Challenges Ahead, which is extremely timely. As you know, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, also known as the Ban Treaty, was adopted at the United Nations on July 7th last year. The Ban Treaty was achieved through the concerted efforts of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, a civil society organization, and like-minded governments. ICANN was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last year in recognition of its tireless work to draw attention to the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of any use of nuclear weapons, and its groundbreaking efforts to achieve the successful adoption of the treaty. At the same time, the ban treaty is controversial. There are both proponents and opponents of the treaty. Critical Issues Forum students have worked hard to understand both of these perspectives and have explored the possibility of finding a common ground. I hope this conference will highlight the perspectives of high school students from Japan, Russia, and the United States as they discuss this important topic. I am also hopeful that this will be an opportunity for all of us to think about what we can do to make progress for the peace and security of a world free of nuclear weapons, and especially how we can use education to reach this goal. I trust that the students who participated in this conference will continue to forge ahead toward these noble goals. Countries like Japan, the United States, and Russia are all playing very important roles in nuclear policy. Therefore, education in this field for young leaders in these countries will definitely have a positive impact on global peace and security. We are also very happy to have two distinguished keynote speakers, Mr. John Wolfsuter, Director of the Nuclear Crisis Group at Global Zero, and Ms. Susan Thazard, the author of the award-winning book, Nagasaki, Life After Nuclear War. I hope everybody got a copy of her book at the reception. We will hear from them later today and tomorrow. For the next 2 days, I hope you will learn from each other, have active discussions, and actively exchange your perspectives. Disarmament and non-proliferation education is a truly meaningful and constructive way toward a more secure and peaceful world. Thank you very much again for helping to make this very important conference happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Misako, for that wonderful speech. And now we would like to welcome Dr. William C. Potter, the founding director of the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies.
Thank you so much. Before I say a few words of welcome, let me both acknowledge my deep respect for ICANN, but if one were to talk about a long and all-encompassing commitment to nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation, I don't think there's anyone who is more committed than our own Misako Toki. So let me express my great appreciation to her. And I don't say that simply because she's here. I really, truly don't know anyone who kind of lives and breathes this issue more and has done so for a longer time than Misako. So thank you first, Misako, for all of your work in the field. It's my pleasure as the director of the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation to welcome you to this year's very special Critical Issues Forum. There are a lot of reasons why I'm pleased to do so, and I'll mention just a few of them in my prepared remarks. First, it's very rewarding to see how a concept we developed many years ago in Monterey has actually grown into a reality. That is the idea of making it possible for young and very bright high school students to study some of the most challenging problems we face in the world today, and to do so by assisting high schools in the United States, Russia, and Japan in particular to develop curricula on non-proliferation and disarmament issues. Amazingly, when we began this program in 1998, 20 years ago, not a single high school in California, and as best we can tell, not a single high school anywhere in the United States, or in the world for that matter, offered high school students an opportunity to study the challenges posed by nuclear weapons proliferation or to examine alternative strategies for dealing with those dangers. It gives me great satisfaction that today we can assist young people from around the world to develop the critical thinking skills necessary to understand and hopefully also to solve these pressing international problems. A second reason why this gathering is especially meaningful to me is that it was approximately 20 years ago when, as a member of the UN Secretary General's Advisory Board on Disarmament Matters, I first proposed the creation of a UN experts group to make recommendations on disarmament and nonproliferation education, including with respect to secondary education. It took over a decade. It really took until 2010. But at the 2010 Nonproliferation Treaty Review Conference, for the first time, language was adopted in an NPT Review Conference final document on the subject of disarmament and nonproliferation education, which encouraged states to implement the experts group's 34 recommendations. I must say, in the spirit of candor and transparency, that not all states are paying great attention to both their individual and collective commitments in this regard, but at least there is now in place a formal benchmark against which to assess their work in the field of disarmament and nonproliferation education, in the form of Action Item 22 in the 2010 Review Conference final document. Thirdly, I want to share with you the fact that only yesterday morning, our time, my CNS colleague Sarah Bidgood and I had an extended conversation with 3 senior representatives from the United Nations Office of Disarmament Affairs about likely new initiatives that the UN hopes to launch that will focus on young people from around the world. This is still in the formative stages of their planning, but in this context, we discussed at length the work of the Critical Issues Forum, and I'm hopeful that our flagship high school program will become a model for new UN initiatives. In fact, we also, as an aside here I can mention, talked about the new UN ODA occasional paper celebrating 15 years of disarmament and nonproliferation education, in which Misako has an excellent chapter that describes the Critical Issues Forum. Finally, I want to say that I can think of no more important topic for consideration by the Critical Issues Forum than the topic for this year's conference. Having had the opportunity myself to participate as a delegate at the Prohibition Treaties negotiation in both March and July of last year, it gave me particular pride to know that the president of the conference, Ambassador Elaine White Gomez of Costa Rica, was herself an alumna of the Monterey Institute. Her achievement, I believe, is indicative of how quickly a young student can soon mature into a seasoned diplomat and make a major contribution to international peace and security. And in fact, Ambassador White was on the podium here not that long ago talking about the conference, and our expectation is that she will be coming back to Monterey to spend much of the summer reporting on or preparing a report on the negotiation of the Prohibition Treaty based upon her own personal experience. The last point that I wish to make is more an observation based on a similar Critical Issues Forum that was convened in Monterey 2 years ago. At that particular gathering, former Secretary of Defense Bill Perry was our keynoter. Bill recently turned 90 years old, but I think it's hard to find an individual more committed to working with young people to make the world nuclear weapons free. The reason I'm telling you about this episode 2 years ago is that at the end of that very, very successful conference, Dr. Perry and I were kind of comparing notes, and we both concluded that had we not been physically present and observed the presentations by the young students from high schools from Russia, from the United States, and from Japan, we would have probably concluded that the discourse was conducted by either relatively young government officials perhaps advanced graduate students, but certainly not high school students. And so I think it really is a testament to the creativity and the demonstrated capability of young people to grapple with some of these tremendously difficult problems. So we set a high bar for your participation during the course of the next 2 days, but I'm confident that you will, in fact, surpass it. So it is a great pleasure to, again, welcome you to Monterey, and I look forward to the next 2 days of discussions. Thank you.
Okay, that's all. Now we have remarks from Dr. Jeff Dayton Johnson, the Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of the Middlebury Institute of International Studies.
Good morning and welcome. I think if I were in your shoes, and I'm speaking particularly to the high school students who are here, I would be wondering when this series of welcoming remarks would end, and you could begin hearing from and talking to the experts, the practitioners, the negotiators, the people who have analyzed and made history in this important treaty that you'll be looking at and making presentations about. And to some extent, you already have heard from some of the experts already. Some of the folks who've already been here to welcome you are indeed experts in this realm, and you'll be interacting with them more. But let me just say, I'm very glad that you're here. My name is Jeff Dayton Johnson. I'm the Dean of the Institute, and it's my responsibility to tell you the history of the Institute, but I'll do it in a very, very short way. And I'll do it because it is relevant to what you're doing here. This is an institution that was formed in 1955, when Bill Perry was a young man, apparently. And it is an institution that was set up to train graduate students with the skills in languages, the skills in intercultural cooperation and understanding, and the technical and analytical skills that they would need to go out and make the world a better place, tackle the world's most pressing problems. And there are few problems more pressing today, and there were few problems more pressing in 1955 than the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Now, most of our students are graduate students. Most of our students are in their 20s or 30s. Increasingly, we work with mid-career professionals and people at different parts of their career path. But I think it's wonderful that we have this program where students in high school are also here, enriching what we do and learning from the academic community, the community of scholars that we have here about the big and important problems. And as I said before, this is one of the biggest. The so-called ban treaty, I'm one of those people who uses the shorthand term. The so-called ban treaty is really a milestone in global diplomatic history. And you'll be working on it in a way that will deepen your understanding of the mechanisms that have led to this important global collective action. You'll learn about the role of activism, the role of political parties, the role of negotiation. I'm assuming you'll learn these things because these are all parts of the process that led to this historic decision by the United Nations, in which this institute has indeed played a role. The pressing problems of nuclear proliferations, the risk that it poses to the world, and the risk most notably that it poses to your futures as young people and future professionals, remains as worrisome as ever. And that means it is extremely important that you begin to equip yourself with an understanding of the mechanisms that can help us to better contain and, one hopes, eliminate and ban these threats to our survival and to your professional and personal futures. So I'll leave it at that. I'm delighted to have you all here. I know that it's going to be a very rich experience. Congratulations on the courage that you've shown, many of you coming to the United States from Japan and Russia, and those of you who've come from as far away as Choate within the United States. Congratulations on having been selected for this remarkable program, and for your commitment to global collective action in a way that serves all of humanity. I can think of no more noble calling, and I'm delighted that you've all become part of this process. So good luck in the hours and days ahead. You have a very full schedule. You've done a lot of work already. Congratulations once again, and please enjoy your time here in Monterey. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to welcome Akemi Turakina from Kansai Suka High School to do a message from a Japanese Foreign Minister, Taro Kono.
Good morning. I have honor to read the message from Foreign Minister of Affairs, Foreign Affairs Minister of Japan, Taro Kono. So let me begin. At the opening of the Critical Issues Forum in 2018, I would like to congratulate everyone involved in making this year's conference a reality. It is encouraging that the CIF programs plays an invaluable role in focusing on disarmament and non-proliferation education towards the realization of a world free of nuclear weapons. I am also gratified that the forum brings together the positive energy of young people from the United States of America, the Russian Federation, and Japan. In this regard, I would like to express my profound respects for the host, the James Martin Center of Non-Proliferation Studies at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey. It is incumbent upon Japan, as the only country to have ever suffered from atomic bombings during war, to contribute proactively to the realization of a world free of nuclear weapons, while leading the efforts of the international community. The nuclear and ballistic missile program by North Korea has imposed an unprecedented, grave, and imminent threat against the peace and stability of the international community. Taking into account of such security threats in the real world, Japan believes that it is important to serve a bridging role between nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states. Through such means, we have the opportunity to take further steps along the road to the ultimate goal of the total elimination of nuclear weapons. Efforts and negotiation at the government level are not the only way to advance nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. I believe the power of civil society, especially involving the young generation, is vital. This is why Japan has placed such importance on disarmament and non-proliferation education. For example, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan has supported the emphasis on youth by launching a scheme known as the Youth Communicators for a world free of nuclear weapons. In November last year, Japan hosted the third forum of the Youth Communicators. At that gathering, the youth participants from Japan held intense discussions on the goal of a world free of nuclear weapons, together with students from the US and Russia who had participated in the previous forum. On the occasion of the CIF this year, I'm delighted that we can welcome 37 new youth communicators from the US, Russia, and Japan. The participation of so many people, particularly the young who represent the next generation, in deliberation on realizing a world free of nuclear weapons is immensely significant. I sincerely hope that the participants of the CIF will grow their capacities of critical thinking, which the CIF attaches the utmost importance through considering how to advance nuclear disarmament in this severe security environment. Let me conclude my remarks by expressing my sincere hope that the CIF in 2018 will be a success and that it will encourage ever more people to aspire towards a world free of nuclear weapons. 30th of March 2018, Foreign Minister of Japan, Taro Kono. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would now like to play a video message from Ms. Azumi Nakamatsu, the Undersecretary General and High Representative for Disarmament Affairs from the United Nations.
It is my pleasure, as the United Nations High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, to send my greetings to you at this year's Critical Issues Forum. I would also like to express my appreciation to the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies, or CNS, at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey for its commitment to disarmament and non-proliferation education. I congratulate CNS on its impressive 22 years of organizing the Critical Issues Forum program. The topic of this year's forum, Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, Achievements, Aspirations, and Challenges Ahead, is an important one. The adoption of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was a historic accomplishment. The treaty opened for signature on 20th of September 2017 and currently has 57 signatories and 5 ratifications. It will enter into force 90 days after the 50th instrument of ratification has been deposited. The topic of this year's forum is also a timely one. We're living in a time of nuclear peril. More than 15,000 nuclear weapons remain in the world, with many on high levels of alert. There is real and growing anxiety over the threat to humanity posed by the continued existence of nuclear weapons, and the achievement of nuclear weapon-free world continues to be an urgent priority for the United Nations. One important avenue for achieving a nuclear weapon-free world is through disarmament and non-proliferation education. Disarmament and non-proliferation education is about raising awareness of the ultimate goal of general and complete disarmament. But more than that, it offers an opportunity for deeper analysis, emphasizing approaches to reducing and eliminating violent conflicts of all kinds. I encourage all the students attending the forum to analyze the issues at hand with creativity and courage. I hope you will make full use of the opportunity you have over the next 2 days to learn, to interact with others, and to prepare yourselves. You have an important role to play. You are the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you, and I wish you a successful forum ahead.
This message was recorded before the 6th and 7th ratification of the ban treaty, which did happen recently.